order the March 29th meeting of the Tiverton Town Council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I got my flag.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almost.
This time, I'd like to do a moment of silence for Noel Berg. Councilor Vieira, would you like to speak?
Sure, thank you, Madam President. Just a few words regarding a resident here in Tiverton. Unfortunately, I never met the man. I never got the pleasure of working with him. He recently passed away on Sunday, March the 7th, at the age of 92. He was a veteran, served a career as an engineer. And he had a lot of positions here in Tiverton. Mostly with the planning board. He was a tax assessor for a while. He served as an administrative officer with the planning board and then the chair of the planning board. All of it he did as a volunteer. He was never paid. His hobbies were well suited to live here. He was an avid fisherman, scuba diving, and most of all, swimming. He spent many times going down to Newport at 6 a.m., swimming down at the health club, and then hitting the town hall to help out in any way he can. He's survived by his widow, Irene, his son, Gary, daughters, Susan and Marcia, and grandchildren, Elizabeth and Natalie. May we have a moment of silence for Mr. Noel Berg. And if I can add, I was also told this today. Today is National Vietnam War Veterans Day. So can we also have a moment of silence for those veterans also?
Thank you, Bill.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I'll start. Consent agenda, approval of council minutes.
Roll
Oh,
call,
I'm sorry,
Denise.
roll call. I'm sorry, I just thought of it.
No problem.
Roll call, Joan.
Counselor Cook? Here. Counselor Edwards?
Here.
Counselor Vieira?
Here,
Counselor Janik? Here. Counselor Burke?
Here.
Counselor Perry?
Present.
Counselor DiMederos?
Here.
All
Thank you.
present.
Thank you. Approval of town council minutes, March 8th, 2021, regular session, March 8th, 2021, executive session. Acknowledge receipts of minutes from boards and commissions and committees. Harbor Commission 1, Historic Prevention Advisory Board 1, Cemetery Commission 1, Planning Board 1, Board of Canvassers 1. Acknowledge receipts of reports, Treasurer Saurette, February 2021 Budget and Revenue Report. Number 2, Police and Fire Annual Casino Report. Acknowledgement receipts of correspondence, Town of Charleston, resolution in support of House Bill 2021-85028, an act relating to education, the Civic Literacy Act. Town of Burrillville, resolution in opposition to Rhode Island 2021 gun control legislation. Town of Burrillville, resolution in opposition of Rhode Island 2021 H5269 tax sale legislation. Town of Portsmouth, resolution in support of 2021 03-08B to pass the Act of Climate Bills in the Rhode Island General Assembly. Number 5, Town of Portsmouth, resolution in support of 2021-8H5113, an act related to miniature alcoholic beverage containers deposit recycling. Number 6, Town of Portsmouth, resolution in support of 2021-02-22, support of legislation to amend Title 44, Chapter 5 of the Rhode Island General Law regarding municipal taxation of real estate. Number 7, the Trust 2020 Annual Report, a tidal wave of change. E, approval of tax assessors abatements, total amount $988.83. Approval of license renewal, non-administrative, December 1st, 2019 to November 30th, 2020, holiday license renewal for the Riverside Marina LLC, 211 Riverside Drive. Would any of the councilors like to take anything off the consent agenda?
Madam President, I'd like to remove item 4A1, the minutes for March 8th.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to, anybody
Me.
else? Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah. Yeah, 4-7.
4-7. Okay,
Or D, yeah, 4D7, sorry.
4D7. Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to accept the rest of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Motion's been made in second. All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Counselor Burke.
If I could direct us to page 2 of the minutes first, under public comments, item A2. I'm just concerned about the way it is stated. It states it as a fact at the end that that this resolution serves as a reminder of the people's right to bear arms, when that was an opinion. So it asks that clause at the end states, so it would say, comma, which she states that she feels is a reminder of the people's rights to bear arms. And then on page 4, again, I'm concerned about the accuracy of the statements. And I went back and I listened to the tape before I looked at these, and I appreciate Councilor Vieira raising these questions to me. Under item 10, the first paragraph, it says 10A, and then there's a first paragraph. It says Ms. Bandoni alleged the resolution was initially put forth. She stated, so I'd like alleged to be changed to stated. And specifically stated that she believes it was put forth due to fears of the laws that never happened. That's her actual language. And then where it says Ms. Morrow purported the resolution, I would like that changed to stated, and that it would state that Ms. Morrow stated the resolution was conceived, blah, 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 and continue with the rest of it. I just believe that that's a more accurate description of what was actually stated by those individuals when they made their comments.
Any discussion? So Mike, I assume the motion is to accept.
Can you see me? Can you see me?
Yes.
Can you see me?
Donna?
I raised my hand.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're
Just
frozen
wondering.
on my screen. I can see your picture, but not your hand. Go ahead.
To me, when I read what Sherry said, it was understood to me that what she was saying was something she was saying, why we would need to put that she's saying it serves as a reminder. She was saying it. I don't get why you need to change the wording. It seemed clear to me.
So I think it just clarifies that she's stating how she feels. And yes,
Yeah,
It says right here, expressing her opposition, which she's expressing her opposition and stating, I just think it's nitpicking, it's kind of silly. It already says it, but whatever you want.
any other discussion?
so yes, Denise, that is, Madam Chair, President, that is a motion for those amendments.
Okay, do I have a second?
A second.
Any further discussion before I take a vote? All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Cook, Donna,
Yes,
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes,
Counselor Perry, Joe.
I think he's frozen.
Yeah, Donna and Joe
Yes,
keep
yes.
freezing. Okay.
Yes,
I think Cox is doing it to us again a little bit, to tell you the truth, up in the north end. And I'm a yes, so unanimous. Public comments regarding a council agenda item or other town business. I have 3 comments, 3 letters that I think you all received in the packet.
Madam President,
Yes,
wait a
I-
minute.
I
What's
think
going on?
Counselor Cook had an item that she removed from the consent agenda.
oh, I'm
Yes.
very sorry, Donna. Donna, go ahead.
All right. I just
didn't
thought
have-
we should
Go ahead.
kind of look at the title waiver change because it is a trust. And they were charting a safe course and I was wondering, I'm sorry, there's not a page number. Oh, wait, 6. Regarding, there's grant funds, $250,000 to protect your buildings program. And I'm not sure what that all includes. Sounds like mechanical failures, freeze-ups in the building. I was just wondering if, I don't want to give more work to Chris, but I don't know who else would look to see if this grant program would help us with our buildings.
Well, Chris is present at these meetings and he probably has something to add. Chris, would you like to comment on this? Chris, you're on
assume
mute.
you,
You're on mute. Okay.
So there are a number of grant options that the trust has put out. I believe, actually, I think DPW just won one of them. But I think every one of the departments has put in, it's a minimum of $2,000, it's a maximum of $2,000 grant. And they're statewide, of all the cities and towns, so we are applying for them as we can. There are certain guidelines that we have to adhere to.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. The other thing I was interested in is that to help department heads, I mean, we hire them and I'm just wondering if sometimes they just don't have all the skills to deal with, local citizens. They're not always happy with what they're hearing from the department head. And I just thought maybe before they start their job, it looks like what they offer is work-related coaching. I don't know if that could be completely wrong, but what I was looking for was a course in customer service or helping them navigate escalation of people being angry at them if they get no. Just helping them out with some skill sets to help them with their job. I just wonder if that's available to them.
So there is a number of different training courses, and I have allowed the department heads and some of their staff to sign up for them as time permits and their schedule permits. So
Is it possible for them to do it online, Chris, rather than?
most all of it is online.
Oh, Okay. Could it be a requirement so that they have it instead of trying to get it after the fact or trying to mitigate any, any problems to give them help with, trying to do their job with the public? It's
So
not always easy.
I'll look to see what classes are coming up and we'll try to get them, it depends on their schedules. It depends on what they have going on. So if we can get them in, we'll try to get
Yeah,
them to attend.
and I don't know how often. Yeah, I don't know how often they offer it. And basically, I was looking that before, if they're hired, that they have to take these courses, these 2 courses to help them. I don't want to be doing it afterwards and, they just don't have the skills. Anyway, I just thought it would help.
Okay, Donna, do we have a motion to approve that item?
I'll make a motion for the council to approve the Trust 2020 Annual Report, a tidal wave of change.
Second.
Have a second. Okay, motion's been made by Councilor Cook, seconded by Councilor Burke. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay. Public comment. Like I had said before I rudely forgot about Donna, was comments were received by Sherry Ackley, John Osborne, and Scott McCarthy. I believe you all have it in your packet. Mike, should I read these? I will.
Up to you if you want to.
Do the councilors wish for me to read it so that the public, I'll read it. The first one is Tiverton Town Councilors. My statement last week to the town council concerning the Second Amendment resolution was to remind town leaders of the requirement to always keep in mind the ever-arching constitutional framework to which they swear an oath of support for the sake of all members of the community. Comments I later heard by the council members clearly indicated their misunderstanding both of what the resolution says and what those of us who are watching your discussions are saying to you. Councilor Edwards incorrectly implied that the resolution somehow labels the town a sanctuary gun town. It does not. Maureen Morrow and Christine Bandoni said that it was removed from the resolution. It was in fact removed, as many 2A supporters also did not want to see Tiverton a sanctuary town for this or any other political issues, and fought to keep that word out of it. So the point is not valid in my opinion. The resolution is simply a statement which emphasizes the commitment of town leaders to honor their oaths to the citizens of Tiverton with respect to the defense of rights and privileges afforded those citizens by our governing constitution and laws, in particular those pertaining to the Second Amendment. The resolution does attempt to extend freedom or rights beyond what is already guaranteed to residents. It does not sanctify any special privilege. What it does do is offer a public reassurance that despite differing personal opinions, Tiverton leadership recognizes their obligation to uphold the governing documents of our society as they swore to do. Councilor Burke disagreed with my statement, stating something to the effect that he did not believe repealing the resolution meant he was against the Second Amendment. But the solicitor just prior to Councilor Burke speaking said if you choose to repeal, you are in fact saying you disagree or making your own political statement as a council that you are against what the resolution says. The solicitor also noted it was not necessary to repeal the resolution, stating it was just a statement of that particular council. The citizens that are asking resolution 19-01 be repealed, in my opinion, are clearly doing this to make a political statement. being that part of their presentation was specifically giving their interpretation of what occurred at the meeting for the vote on the resolution 1901 and the calling out of the recalled councilors. Our Constitution rights exist whether this resolution exists or not. What I did say last week and will repeat it now is that your oath of office, despite your personal opinions, require you to support and defend the constitutional rights of the citizens of our community. The resolution was put in place by leadership who wanted to make that clear. If you act to rescind this resolution, it sends a clear message that you do not necessarily believe that it is your duty to defend those rights for our citizens. It places into questions whether you in your role as a public servant consider your personal opinions weightier than the rule of the land. And it calls in doubt whether you have the ability to even honor the oath of office to which you swore. Thank you for considering this repeal request. Thoughtfully, Sherry Ackery. The second one. Councilors, I am a law-abiding citizen of Tiverton who has owned and used firearms for more than 70 years without harming anyone. I am well aware that criminals are shooting at people on city streets all around us. These people are criminals, not law-abiding citizens. Removing the resolution supporting the 2A amendment would not prevent criminal use of firearms, but would only help open the door for people to abrogate the 2A. The amendment has been part of both the U.S. and Rhode Island constitutions for generations and should be supported in any way possible by all elected officials. Thanks, John Osborne, 6 Anthony Way, Tiverton. The third one. Mrs. Shabbat, please distribute this to the members of the Tiverton Town Council, as I will be unlikely to attend tonight's council meeting, having only recently heard about the request being considered. Feel free to read it out loud at the meeting. I'm appalled that the Town Council would consider a request to repeal the 2A resolution put in place 2 years ago. It should be understood that the request to rescind it does not come from the majority of the people in Tiverton. It comes from a very small group, but noisy group of anti-firearm zealots who like to flatter themselves as activists, but in reality are merely sock puppets for groups outside the town and outside the state. This is not about safety or the children or ending violence. It's about control of this town by controlling you through lies, deception, distorted reasoning, opinions, and factoids, paid for and provided by their organizations. All pressed forward by emotion. In fact, the more worthless the testimony, the more emotion is required to sell it. Remember that as you listen to them. The 2A resolution is a statement that Tiverton Town Council supports the rule of law in the form of the federal and state constitution, not the whims of the few zealots. If you appeal it, you violate any oath to protect the highest laws of the land, which makes you a liar and implies you serve someone other than the people of this town. If that's the case, you are willing to violate our civil rights based on the ravings of few outsiders with a frightening political agenda. Then you do not deserve the trust of the people who elected you or the office you hold. I ask you to keep 2A resolution, Scott McCarthy, 84 Blueberry Lane, Tiverton, Rhode Island. So those are the three. Any discussion? Councilor Edwards?
Did everybody in the council get the email I sent you all about what's been going on in this country?
Councilor Edwards, can I just ask, Madam President, are we discussing the vote on the resolution, or is this just about the public comments right now?
I think we're going to discuss the whole thing and take a vote.
Oh, okay. I thought we were on public comments.
Well, those are the only public comments I have.
Okay.
I don't know.
No, that's fine. I was just clarifying.
Okay. Those are the only public comments I have. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, let's be clear on this. We are not, by repealing this resolution, if we choose to do so, saying that we do not support the Constitution and that we do not support the Second Amendment. I personally support the Second Amendment as it is currently written. I also support any laws that the state has currently enacted and may enact in the future in regards to guns. This country is being overrun by gun violence. It is expanding by leaps and bounds. We expect the police to enforce all of the laws relative to guns. And we had Chief Jones sit before us and say he would do just that. He's not going to take any draconian actions on his own that violate any of the constitutional entitlements or the laws that currently exist. So for anybody to say or state that I personally am against the Constitution or against the rights of citizens if I vote to repeal this resolution is a lie. It's not true.
Thank you.
I don't know what else to say.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilor Burke.
just from a formality perspective, can I make a motion to move item 8D up on the agenda to our current discussion?
That's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion about that? All those in favor, Councilor Cook?
I'm not aware of,
Sorry, we're just.
we just
we're moving
moved
the vote-
something? I'm sorry. we were talking
Wait a minute,
about six.
Too many people are talking to me at once.
The only thing we're voting on now, Madam President, is Mr. Burke's, Councilman Burke's motion to move 8D up on the agenda.
Right.
Well, are we done with 6A?
No, I think he wants to bring Maureen Morrow and Christine Bodoni into this.
Well, what the purpose of it is,
Oh,
we were
I'm
doing
sorry,
public-
you said D.
Right.
I heard
Yeah.
D. Sorry.
we were doing public comments, and then you had affirmed that you were going to move right into this resolution. So to do that, I think we need to move it up on the agenda, that's all.
I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah, I get it. Okay. I thought you said B. I'm having a hard
Oh.
time coming in and
Yeah.
out. All right. Yes.
Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So 8D is Maureen Morrow and Christine Bodoni. By the way, I just do want to mention that they are citizens of Tiverton. They're taxpayers in Tiverton. They're not from another community. It was kind of indicated in one of these letters that they were outsiders. I wouldn't call Christine and Maureen outsiders. And they have asked for discussion and possible vote on the repeal of Resolution 1901, resolution supporting the Second Amendment and opposing infringement of the right to bear arms, adopted 6/3/2019. Maureen and Christine, I think you both, Maureen and Christine, you both here with me? Do you hear me? Christine, you're on mute. I don't know if they're able to talk.
She was off, and now she's back on again. There you go. Oh.
She's going in and
There you
out.
are, Christine.
Hi, Christine, would you like to speak?
I mean, basically, my comments that I made in the meeting, I think it was March 8th, stand. And I just, as a follow-up, that I believe repeal is important because resolutions like this send a dangerous message that, the town council is not going to be supporting the law, and that it's important to support our local police and follow the laws as they are written. And I believe that the town council is doing that. And I believe that the town council is for the Second Amendment, is that doing this would not mean that you're against Second Amendment rights.
Thank you. Maureen, would you like to speak? I don't think we can hear Maureen.
I don't know if we lost her.
Here, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I think what I'll do, I sent each of you an email this past week after I had read the 3 public letters. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. So I'm just going to basically cover what I had said to you in the email that I sent each of the counselors. I read with interest the letters from 3 Tiverton citizens urging you to maintain Resolution 1901. Scott McCarthy makes some sweeping statements in his letter stating that the request to rescind, quote, does not come from the majority of people in Tiverton, unquote. And I wonder if Scott has any supportive data on this, if he knows that the majority of people feel this way. His letter goes on to become a little uncivil with some name calling. And here is the real rub. His argument does not support the resolution. He recaps that, quote, the resolution is a statement that the Tiverton Town Council supports the rule of law in the form of the federal and state constitutions, not the whims of a few zealots. Yes, this is true. And so council members took an oath to support these constitutions and laws. I don't understand why a resolution is needed at all to reiterate this. As for John Osborne's letter and his reference to law-abiding citizens, the vast majority of perpetrators of mass shootings were law-abiding until the moment when suddenly they were not. So it's very tiresome to hear people talk about law-abiding citizens, their rights are being taken away. It's a moment where once they were law-abiding, and then one moment later, they are no longer law-abiding. That is when they walked into a movie theater, a school, a supermarket, and started killing their fellow citizens. He does not make a solid case that the town council should make any special statement upholding the Second Amendment. And finally, Sherry Acra makes a convoluted argument that the resolution is needed to offer a public reassurance that despite differing personal opinions, Tiverton leadership recognizes their obligation to uphold the governing documents of our society as they were sworn to do. Her argument would then lead to the development of resolutions for a multitude of other parts of the US and state constitutions, stating that the town council would uphold them. Isn't this what councilors pledge when they take their oath of office? Again, her argument does not hold water. Councilors and other elected officials must uphold the US and state constitutions and the federal and state laws, period. Sherry also adds that citizens are asking Resolution 1901 be repealed, in my opinion, are clearly doing this to make a political statement. Very ironically, the genesis of this resolution was politically motivated, as stated, and you can read the record, by its authors in 2019. So I urge you as councilors to please repeal this resolution. It's not necessary. We have laws and we have constitutions. Sincerely, Maureen Morrow.
Thank you, Maureen. Councilor
You're
Cook.
welcome.
Yeah. Thank you both, Maureen and Christine, for coming to the meeting. I also want to thank the 3 commentators and anybody else that wrote any letters. It's always important to hear from you. I just want to say one more thing, that both Maureen and Christine have repeatedly say sanctuary. It says support. It doesn't say sanctuary. Secondly, I believe the solicitor stated that the resolution was only during that time of that particular council. So it's no longer really in effect. I can't do anything about the fact that it's on a map, wrongly on a map, as sanctuary when it just should have been support. So it really is moot. And I also wondered why now? And the answer to that seemed to be, all of a sudden, there was all of these anti-gun laws at the State House and nationally, which made me think that this is why the two ladies came forward. It seemed kind of contrived all of a sudden. I just couldn't figure it out why 2 years later, something that's no longer valid would be a bone of contention here. The other thing is that the reason that the people came forward to the town council was not that we could do anything about what was going on. They strictly were frustrated because the legislature wasn't listening to them, and they came to the town council for someone to please listen to them. I don't think anyone's against the Second Amendment. Maybe I'm wrong, but what they were complaining about was the constant bills coming forward. There's some bills now where they want to change the age from 18 to 21. You know, there's one where they want to look back 5 years and require you to sign a HIPAA paper so they can look at all your medical record. Who these people are looking over it, I do not know. And it's very intrusive. And what happens is you do so many laws that the Second Amendment becomes moot because it's so contrived and so difficult to have your constitutional right that you can't even use or have your constitutional right. And so one of the things I went to, if I have a chance here, is that I was like, what happened in Venezuela? What happened there? And I looked it up. And one of the first things they said was turning citizens into disarmed subjects. And one of the things about government is that you always have to stay very vigilant that you're toe-to-toe with the government and it's by consensus. When it isn't like that anymore, you may feel that you're very, very safe, and all of a sudden you aren't, because getting rid of guns doesn't mean you're going to be safe. But having said that, it's really to protect the citizens that they stay citizens and don't become subjects. So if the government takes the weapons away, then you can't, as a people, be free. You can't do anything about it because what they had to use in Venezuela was sticks and rocks, because the military had that. So I've said enough. I just think it's important that's why people came forward. They felt that they were disenfranchised. That's all. Thank you so much.
You're on mute, Madam.
Yeah, I know. Councilor Burke.
Thank you, Madam President. Last time we talked about this, I provided some background and expressed my own ownership in the past and the like of guns, my use of guns, my former membership in the NRA and the like, but it never at any point did I feel that the Second Amendment, let alone most of our amendments, provide an absolute right to what they speak to. We are a country of 3 branches of government. First branch is the legislative branch. They make the laws. We have some bit of a role of legislative when we make our own ordinances. Second branch is the executive branch. They enforce the laws. And we also have an executive branch function. Last branch is judicial. They interpret the laws. We have a very small judicial function in regard to some appeals on some things, but very small. But we have no judicial function in relation to laws made by the state legislature or by the Congress. That sits with the respective state and federal legislative or judicial bodies. So I do also want to thank those who provided us written testimony and some oral testimony. I appreciate the support your right under the First Amendment to do so. And I don't remember the terminology used. I don't think you're zealots for expressing yourselves, whichever side of an issue you sit on. As long as you're doing it in a way that is safe for others, then I appreciate that. And I think it's necessary. And having spent many days in the past doing just that, I know how important it is. But again, we are not the judiciary. I want to point out, we are not the judiciary. So every amendment, when a law is passed, if somebody doesn't feel like it respects or whatever the amendment that is related to it, or amendments that are related to it, they have the opportunity to seek redress from the judiciary. And sometimes when it gets wherever it ends, whether it ends at the US Supreme Court or a lower court, we all have to live by that, because that's the rule of law in this country. So there's a couple of examples in the recent past where the Supreme Court has made decisions regarding the First Amendment. One relates to the COVID crisis, where they overruled the governor of California when he put restrictions on how many people churches could have. And they felt that violated the First Amendment. Now, I don't necessarily agree with their decision, but I have to live by it, because they have the final say, unless some other piece of legislation comes forward that they feel toes the line, if you will, of things. So we are in no way attempting to control people's rights by removing this resolution, which was a political statement at the time. In my position, my belief, we're simply removing what was a political statement and bringing us back to a neutral stance. We're not taking a position either way on any proposed so-called gun laws, or what I would call them, most of them, public safety legislation. We're not taking any position anyway, but I do want to point out a few things. Regardless of whether or not this resolution uses the term Second Amendment sanctuary, we're viewed as one of dozens, if not more, of cities and towns and counties across the country that are Second Amendment sanctuary towns. We're on maps. I was on a website called Bearing Arms a little bit ago, and they talk about Riverton, they got us wrong, Rhode Island, removing the Second Amendment sanctuary resolution. That's specifically what they say. So regardless of how you want to paint it, that's how we're seeing it. Further, this resolution has language in it that in some ways is kind of pretzel logic to me. You have to twist it so much to see if it makes sense, but it never really makes sense. So we're supposed to support laws that are not deemed unconstitutional by a court of competent jurisdiction. I'm not sure exactly what that means. And that we further affirm our intention not to appropriate funds for the capital construction of building space or the purchase or lease of self-contained systems to store weapons seized in the enforcement of any law that infringes upon the constitutional right of the people of the town of Tiverton to keep and bear arms. So that in and of itself is saying, Town Council of Tiverton, if the legislature or the Congress passes a law that would require us to keep such building space and to use our funds to do that, which generally Congress may not give you money or may put strings on money that you can get in the state, that we're supposed to violate that law. Well, that in and of itself is saying that you want the supporters of this resolution want us to violate our oath by violating laws that have not been vetted, if necessary, to the court system. So that is where we would be violating our oath if we took those positions, or if we directed the chief and his officers not to enforce a law simply because maybe a majority of us did not like that law. That's violating our oath. So when at the proper time, Madam President, I will make a motion to rescind this resolution.
Got a motion now, Mike, and then if I get a second, we can do further discussion.
So moved. Motion is to rescind resolution number 1901, which was a resolution supporting the Second Amendment and opposing infringement of the right to bear arms, adopted on 6/3/2019, that we will rescind that and remove it from any of our public information.
Do I have a second?
I'll second
I'll
it.
second.
I have a second by Counselor Edwards and Counselor Janik. Further discussion. Deb, I noticed your hand up.
Yeah, I would just like to say that the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is a right of every US citizen. We don't have the ability as the town council to remove that. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from people saying we're trying to remove their rights. We don't have the ability to do that. We in all the words Mike said, we just don't have that ability. We did swear an oath. We swore an oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws, the federal and the state laws. Now, we don't get to pick and choose which laws we get to uphold because we swore to uphold them. And that's the oath we took as elected officials. Now, our police department, the members of the police department also took that same oath. And by putting this resolution in place, we're asking our police officers to ignore the laws of our state, the laws of our country, and to just ignore them and not uphold them. And Chief Jones did say at the last meeting that they are abiding by the laws, they are upholding the laws. So this resolution hasn't changed the way that they govern and they police. So we are not trying to take away people's rights. Those are people's rights. And we do abide by the Second Amendment and the laws that protect both gun owners and non-gun owners in our state and in our country. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Counselor Edwards?
I'll just make one final comment. Maureen Morrow inquired if a poll had been taken to define how many people in Tiverton support or do not support this. All I can tell you is I have received a lot of emails requesting me to vote against this resolution. In other words, to do away with the resolution. The only ones I have seen in support are the three that I'm looking at now in our agenda. I take that as a pretty telling.
Jay, I agree with you. For the last 2 weeks, I've gotten several emails for
I've
support.
got more than several.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Like over 50.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot too. And I think all the counselors have gotten what we, all of them also. Counselor Vieira?
Just real quick, like every one of you, I support the Second Amendment myself. I've belonged to the local Rod and Gun Club for years. I enjoy standing on the line and emptying a magazine just like many other people. I think back in 2019, a lot of people felt disenfranchised by this passing of this resolution. I think that's why we're here today. And, you know, this resolution just seems to be this big blanket. It doesn't specifically support or oppose any specific House bill or state bill. If it did, I think we could argue those facts. This is just one big umbrella, one good feel-good umbrella, and it has no teeth to it. So I will probably vote to repeal this because of those reasons. Thank you.
Anyone else? If there's no further discussion, I have a motion on the floor to repeal with a second, and I'll go on for the vote if there's no further discussion. Counselor Cook,
No.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. The vote 6-1 to repeal. Thank you, everyone.
Good.
Thank you for everyone who participated from the public. Public hearing advertised. Discussion and possible vote on proposed technical amendment to recently passed Tiverton Code of Ordinance, Article 1, Section 10-1, 10-2, 10-3, public nuisance of animals. Attorney Marcello, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. These are just technical amendments to Donna's original ordinance, which the council passed. Even though the council gave me authority to make non-substantive changes after it was passed, we found a couple more errors that I thought were a little bit more than which rose to the level of being a substantive. And so it really just cleans up some language and doesn't change the intent or the scope of the ordinance, but it just gets rid of some extraneous words and clarifies it. So now this will be a clean, good ordinance when it's finally passed in its final form.
Any questions? Donna?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to vote on the technical amendments that were recently passed to the Tiverton Code of Ordinances, Article 1, Section 10-1, 10-2, and 10-3, public nuisance of animals.
I'm going to ask for a second, but then I have to open the hearing to the public.
Second.
Okay, so I have a second. Deb and Jay seem to be seconding everything together tonight. I have a second from
High
Deb.
five, Jay. High five.
We're awake tonight.
I'd like to open the public hearing right now. If anyone in the public has any comments for the participants in our waiting room, you can raise your hand. I can see that. Or you can call in.
So we have 6 people in the waiting room. The animal control officer is here. I don't know if she wants to speak. You want to raise your hand? I don't.
There's a hand up.
Someone has their hand up.
That's Jennifer Stills. She's the animal control officer.
Okay, Jennifer.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I just wanted to just quickly comment on the changes. I agree with everything here. I really think it'll help me better do my job better with the language here. And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Anybody else in the waiting room would like to speak, please raise your hand. And for those who are watching on YouTube Live or videos, you can dial in at 877-853-5247. The meeting number is 831-1015-8669, passcode 560638, and it is on our posted agenda. Again, anybody who would like to speak in the waiting room, please raise your hand.
Okay, while we're waiting to see if anyone dials in, is there any discussion? I'm going to keep the public hearing open. Is there any discussion with the about the motion from any of the counselors? Okay. I don't think anyone has any questions. Nobody seems to be calling in.
Nope.
All right, I'd like to close the public hearing and I'll take the vote. Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry. Counselor Perry froze, but Counselor Perry? Is he on mute?
No, I can see he's moving in my picture, but
I think he's saying yes in my picture, but I'm not sure.
It's like his microphone stopped.
now he's on mute. Now you're on mute, Joe.
Muted now, Joe.
He's got his technical assistant there helping him.
Yeah, you see that? You see that?
Don't you just love it?
He's muted.
Look. He's trying to help him. Counselor Perry, you're on mute. You're off mute.
Now talk to us, Joe.
Now talk to us, Joe. DJ's helping you over there.
No,
CJ, I'm sorry, CJ. You're on mute again. Joe, can you hear me? Shake your head yes if you can hear me. No, I don't even think
no, he can't. He may have to go out and come back in.
It's the North Tiverton curse.
I'm only asking Cox to stay working for another 2 hours.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, he dropped off to come back in.
All right, so I'm a yes, and I guess we should wait for him to come back in.
But did we get everybody or it's up him?
Yes, I believe. I didn't
Yes.
forget anyone, did I? Donna keeps switching. Donna is either to the left of me or the right of me. I try not to forget Donna.
I don't know. I keep staying in the same place. I don't know where I'm switching to.
Yeah,
On my screen, when people come in, Donna, you move for some reason. I don't know why.
Donna stays where she is for me, though.
You need a bigger screen.
It's like that game you used
Yes,
to play
Joe.
where you move things around.
Joe's coming back. There he is.
We can see you, Joe.
Oh,
I lost everything. So I had to get out of it and come back on again. So
say yes or no.
Say yes or no.
Quick.
no, I'm going to abstain. Are we voting on the
dog
ordinance?
Yeah.
I'm going to abstain because I voted against it the last time, so I'm abstaining.
Okay. I saw that CJ was trying to help you.
Yeah, he was. That's who
Yeah.
got me out of it.
All right, so that passes 6-1. All right, appointments and resignations. Tiverton Housing Authority, 5-member board, 5-year term, 2 vacancies. We have Jeannie Mae still on there for a requested reappointment. And we have Nancy Mello, 47 Coral Lane, request appointment to expire 10/15/2025. We've been holding off on this because we were trying to clarify some things with the Tiverton Housing Authority, which Mike and I still haven't had a chance to do. But if anyone has any objections, I think that we can go forward with this. But Councilor Edwards?
All right, well, okay, you already said that. I was just going to make a comment. The fact that they may or may not have been doing their minutes and they may or may not have been doing this or that, to me, should have no bearing on whether or not we appoint 2 live, willing volunteers to the Housing Authority.
Jay, I agree, but we wanted to try to clarify what this committee actually did. But Councilor Burke?
A couple things. One, well, I understand that sentiment. I would disagree because this is the only way that we have any control over, I shouldn't say control, influence over this body. So I think it's important what we did. I think it's time to move on. I did get an email from Nancy Cameron Bretzman, who's the exec director She said she wanted to reach out regarding a discussion held at a recent council meeting regarding the Housing Authority. Housing Authority sets out to maintain compliance with all state and HUD regulations. If at any time in the past or in the future, the authority finds that it may be out of compliance, the authority will make or has made every effort to correct the issues. So I accept that statement from her. And also I think with the addition of Nancy Mello, who is very astute at open meetings laws and public records and the like, I think she'll be a good addition to the board.
Yeah, and we'll be interviewing Nancy. She's on right now. Councilor Perry?
Yeah, my only question, Madam President, is that could we have the police chief do a background check on Miss Mello, because I think she's a character of question. And I just want to make sure that she's the appropriate fit for that
She'll get
committee.
you, Joe. She'll get you.
Thank you.
Not a boy, Joe.
All right, Joe. She's not one person I'd like to get mad at me. All right, Nancy, you there?
Is Chris pulled me in? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
Welcome,
okay.
welcome, Nancy. We miss you.
Oh, I'm not sure I miss this,
Welcome.
but I do miss the people.
Not that
I
Joe
have
isn't
done-
doing a good job, but I just miss seeing you
are.
every day.
I think my dog's in trouble.
Uh-oh.
But I have been doing my homework. I spoke with Jim Seveny, who is the Portsmouth Housing Authority, and they've just gone through a change and whatnot there. I attended I just sat in on a meeting this evening at the Housing Authority. I happened to see it in the Newport paper this morning. And I will say the packet that was distributed at tonight's meeting was informative, profit and loss statements, balance sheets. I would have to learn a lot, but I didn't see anything overwhelming. It was on their agenda for open meeting. And I did remind them that they have to do an annual calendar on the Secretary of State's, and they should be posting all meetings, and they should be within the 48 hours, even if you amend. And, you know, she seemed receptive. I think then, in fairness, they're not as involved as some of these town boards and commissions are within the town, because they're kind of separate. So certainly they need to, I think, learn a little more on open meetings, but they were very receptive to the fact that we have a liaison. We need to, you know, do what we can to keep communication back and forth. So if I don't find myself productive on it or don't feel that I'm being useful there, I'll simply resign.
Thank you, Nancy. Does anyone have any questions for Nancy?
I'll just say she will be a great addition.
I agree. Now we do have a policy to appoint.
Madam President, can I? So Nancy, I hope you heard what I said prior to your being introduced. I think you will be a good addition in those areas. I work with a lot of housing authorities in my day job for addressing housing needs for our clients. So I know that there are a lot of things. You speak to elderly work, and I know they do. You know, they're one of their our housing authorities' large areas is the senior housing on Hancock Street. There are many other voucher programs and the like that housing authorities have access to, and I would hope that we can make sure that, and I honestly, I don't know what they're doing now because I could not find information. I do have to get in touch with Nancy, but that we're making best use of those vouchers, especially given that the price of rental housing these days has skyrocketed, and there are more people have eligibility for their vouchers than just the very poor. You know, those vouchers could be helpful to people, and believe it or not, entering the teaching profession, or people who help out in hospitals who are CNAs or some of those lower paid positions, people who are wait staff at the restaurants that we like to go to. All those people need housing, and the vouchers are there to help support them to meet that need. So I'm hopeful that we're doing the best we can in using as many resources as possible.
We did like mention vouchers and some discussion on that. But like I say, I've got a lot to learn in it to understand, but you know, I'll try my best.
Thank you. So we do have a, Joe?
Yeah, Nancy, I hope you heard what I said, Joe Perry.
I did.
And this is the thanks. This is the thanks I get for trying to get you to run
No, this is my 5th committee. I can't take on too much more.
the beach.
All right, so is Jeannie May in the audience? 'Cause
No,
I don't.
she's not.
Okay. So we can appoint tonight, but if we do that, we have to go against our policy. So I need a motion to do that.
Motion to waive the normal policy.
Thank you, Joe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion to waive our policy.
Madam President, may I note something?
Go ahead.
We tend to waive that so much that I'm not even sure it's a policy that we should have written the way it is. We may want to take a look at that.
Yeah, I think we probably, and we've discussed that before. We just haven't gotten to it because we really don't. Well, Mike, we do follow it if there was 5 people for 2 positions, then so we do follow it for that. And that's happened before, not so much lately, but we have interviewed 5 people for 2 positions and then appointed the next night. So it is there for a reason, but it hasn't really occurred lately. Councilor Cook? Councilor Cook, I'm asking
yes.
to vote to waive. Okay. Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Councilor Vieira?
Yes.
Councilor Burke?
Yes.
Councilor Perry? Councilor Perry?
He's
looks
frozen again.
He's frozen again.
Yes,
Probably fall in.
that's Nancy's curse on me. She put a curse on me.
Oh, there he is. So is it yes?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Joe, you know what's funny? There's other people on the council that live right near you, and they seem to be operating perfectly well with Cox right now.
Yeah, I can almost see his house.
My-
and I'm fine.
Yeah.
My problem is the antenna at Humphreys. It interferes with my computer somehow.
Councilor Janik,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. I'd like to entertain a motion for appointments. We can
Can
do
So
it.
moved.
Can we do them together?
I believe so, Mike. Yes.
I'll second it.
Well, who
We
made
have
the
to
motion?
make a motion.
Joe
Yeah.
moved. Oh, okay.
Joe's moving an appointment of Jean May Durfee and Nancy Mello to the Tiverton Housing Authority.
Joe is?
Yes, I think Joe said it.
Motion that we, and Nancy Mel, correct? Yes, thank you.
He's totally
Yes.
frozen again. Okay, do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, so motion made by Joe Perry via Mike Burke and a second by Deb Janik. Donna Cook,
Yes.
Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes, yes,
Councilor
yes.
Janik,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Congratulations, Nancy and Jeannie.
Thank you.
You'll do a good job, I'm sure of it.
I think you'll be posting the agendas, Nancy.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And be a secretary.
Thanks.
All right, good night, Nancy.
Good night.
Good
Hi,
night.
Nancy.
Thank you.
General business.
No. We still have
I'm sorry,
Harbor Master.
Master. Yeah, my
Harbor
computer,
Master.
yeah, honestly, my computer keeps going in and off. Harbor Master, annual term expiring 12/31/2021. Tyler Loomis, 89 John Dugan Road, request annual reappointment with Harbor and Coastal Waters Management Commission. recommendation. Didn't we appoint Tyler?
I thought,
We did last year, but we were very late in doing it. Historically, it's done in March. And I don't think we actually did it till September, late September last year.
Okay,
So for the upcoming season,
Right.
they're
Okay.
trying to get back on track.
okay.
Right.
All right. Do I have?
I'll make a motion, we reappoint Tyler Loomis, 89 Underground Road, to the Harbor and Coastal Waters Management Commission.
I'll second that before he goes away.
Okay. His picture is totally gone now. Motion's been made and seconded by Councilor Janik, Councilor Cook,
Yes.
Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Janik.
Yes, and I also would like to point out that Bruce Cox, who is the chair of the Harbor and Coastal Waters Management Commission, did write a letter of recommendation for
I think
Tyler.
it's the same letter he wrote, like when we did this a month ago.
Right.
Maybe, it's dated March 10th, 2021.
Yep.
And I'm a yes. Chris, did you have your hands up?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that Tyler's not being appointed to the commission. He's being appointed as harbor master.
Harbor master.
Right, at Harbor Master.
That's fine, as long as that's what you understood the motion to be.
Yeah, I think it's the way it's written here. It's
What's
just-
worded? Yeah,
It's
it's the way
with
it's
the
worded.
recommendation, yes.
And it starts off Harbor Master. Okay, general business.
So I have Rick on to talk about the mowing contract for Bill McGee. He has actually contacted us to let us know that he can't comply with the terms of the contract. He can't get help. So it's an issue, so.
Tell him to call Nancy Mello.
I know we just extended this too, and the end of, probably it was late September, early October.
Yeah.
I will say to Bill's deference, he is very good about the work that he's been doing for us for many, many years. It's going to be very difficult to replace him, especially at this price. But he has a requirement that he requires a drug test for anybody who works for him. And I think he's having a difficult time trying to find help. So it's a problem.
So we're gonna go back out and look for someone.
Yeah, Rick had some modifications I think he'd like to discuss a little bit. Rick, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you, Chris. I did want to mention that because of the time frame, we are changing the bid due date from 4/7 to 4/21. It was felt that we would not get competitive bids if we only had 1 week in which to bid. This will still allow for the town council to be able to review the request to hire somebody or to sign somebody at the Monday, April 26th meeting. And then if approved by the town council, the bidder could start work the last week of April. Typically, they start work in early to mid-April, and it is noted again on Schedule A of Section 1 of the modification that the contract duration was revised from 4/14/21 through 12/31/22 to April 2021 through 12/31/21. And the renewal clause was removed again because of the short timing and the possibility that a bid would be better served again in September or so of this year to allow a January through December bid for 2022 with a renewal clause in it at that point. So those points were addressed. And also there was one typo in section 11 on the invitation to bid that was corrected.
So we'll work with Recreation to the extent that if the fields do need mowing before this can get awarded, we may have to hire a contractor to do something for a one-time thing for whatever the most important fields are. or if we can find volunteers to do it as well, at least for the limited time that we need to get before this contract gets awarded. So we'll work on trying to get something resolved so the fields can be fully used.
Counselor Burke?
A couple of questions, Rick or Chris. Rick, maybe I misheard. So the contract term is through December of 21?
That is correct.
Okay. And then just a couple parts that seem to be odd to me, and maybe conflicting. If you look at page 3 of the invitation to bid, item number 2, these are the general terms. It states the contractor will work under the general guidance and supervision of the Recreation Commission and or the DPW director. So is that how this normally goes out? Is managed?
Yes, Michael. It's my understanding that's how it normally goes out. And that is because, to my understanding, that the Recreation Commission facilitates all the use of the fields between soccer, little league, softball leagues, any kind of recreation that's going on, so that some of the supervision will be coming via scheduling and what they would like done from the Recreation Commission.
So what happens if you disagree with the priorities of the Rec Commission or vice versa?
Usually.
Well, then we would have it discussed amongst ourselves, and if we could not come to a resolution, which I have not encountered before, we would discuss it with the town administrator.
Okay, and then, and I think you answered my next, not this question, but the last question I have. So the Recreation Commission is made up of, I believe, 5 people. So who on the record, is it the chair of the Recreation Commission? Or, I mean, could I, if I'm not on the Recreation Commission, but let's just say I was, and Mike Marcello is our contractor, and I wanted him to do Town Farm today, but Stu Gilfillan wants him to do Picasset Field. Who's the actual person in that role for the Recreation Commission?
That would be the chairperson.
Okay. I would suggest that be identified there, because I think it's a little broad. And then the question I think you answered is on Schedule A, item 2. Let me get to that. Says it's the contractor's responsibility. No, that's not it. The contractor control. The town administrator or his or her designee shall be the liaison between the contractor. Oh, that's okay. In the town of Tiverton. So, and then the town administrator or designee will deem any area of the work substandard. So I'm going to assume that you're the designee for the town administrator. Okay.
Typically that would be correct, Mike.
Okay.
And my recollection is that of this is they have a schedule, so it's not like every day they're telling them to go somewhere. They just routinely cut the cassettes, then they go to Town Farm and they do that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Unless they have to do something, a big project, well then that's different. But my understanding is they have a schedule. Am I right, Chris? That
Right.
they do. Yeah.
He does have a schedule.
Yeah.
We'll work with Mr. McGee to get that schedule down pat before, as we talk to prospective bidders.
Yeah, so it's not like they have to be directed daily.
Right.
They just
No.
follow their spring and fall schedule. Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Move approval of the DPW director's request to go out to bid and advertise for the specified recreational facility and turf management services.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made in second. All those in favor, Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm,
Yes, can you hear me?
yeah, and I'm a yes. I
Thank
cannot
you.
wait till we're all sitting at the same table. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Administrator Carter, Tiverton Police Department, certificate of accreditation. Chief Jones is with us also.
Yeah, I'd like to commend the chief and his staff for doing an excellent job of, finally getting this done. It was a lot of work on their behalf. It does show a lot of professionalism from the department to become accredited. And the trust is well aware of what has been achieved, and we will be seeing some reduction in fees for some of the insurances related to the department. But I'll defer to the chief and let him speak more about, the staff that have put this together and the hard work that they had done. But I would at least like to commend for his excellent work in getting this done.
Chief Jones, are you with us?
I am. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So, as some of you remember, when you hired me as your police chief, this was one of the hallmarks of getting the police department accredited. It did take 3 years, but, and I kind of count the COVID year as a mulligan, but it was not only, if not at all, because of the leadership of the men and women who work at the police department, officers and professional staff included. And I'd be remiss if I didn't specifically note Sergeant Marco Valzavano, who is our accreditation manager, and also Captain Michael Miguel, who had started the accreditation process and was kind of in the mix with them during my time prior to me becoming the police chief. So as the administrator said too, you're looking at not only a professional organization telling you what you already know and what our citizens already know, that you have an extremely professional and exceptional police department, but the reduction of the police department's professional liability, basically the co-share of it going from $50,000 to $2,500. So significant reduction of the liability insurance that the town would have to pay and the citizens would have to pay in the event that the police department was subject to a lawsuit or an investigation by the trust. It's a massive reduction because it just shows that your police department is practicing good practices, professional practices, and what is established as the best practices in the nation. So if it is my pleasure that we are finally accredited, and just so you know, we have already started working on 2024 when our accreditation is expired. We're already starting working on that as of last week. But it is clearly a testament to the men and women of the police department, all of the men and women who serve the town of Tiverton and work at the police department. This is a great accomplishment for us all.
Yes.
Thank you, Patrick. And I've been with you all along with this, and I know all the hard work that everyone did, and I congratulate all of you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Anyone else?
Yeah, good job, Chief. Very good job, Chief.
Yeah, great job.
So,
Congratulations.
Patrick, Joe, unfroze just to congratulate you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Patrick.
All right, thank you.
He'll be back in a minute.
Okay, yeah, I know. Counselor Burke, ethics training for appointed elected officials and town employees.
Thank you, Madam President. This kind of goes along with the other trainings that we've been doing and may be doing around open meetings and access to records. I know I received, and I think all of us received, an email from Lynn Radicius of the Ethics Commission saying that it's been 2.5 years since Tiverton has had an ethics training for officials and staff. As well, I know I received last week or over the weekend, and probably all of you on this screen received, except for maybe the chief, because he's not an elected official, but I don't know, you might, receive the annual ethics reporting requirement that we all have to do. And, so I think it's timely, and she does say in her email that she had sent, I know that the town clerk had received a copy because she forwarded it to us. Thank you, Joan. It's all remote now too. I believe it may even be, I didn't check back at the email. It may even be one that's recorded that you can just come and take, but I'd have to check on that. So I'm just asking that, I guess if Joan can find out more and see how we can set that up, at least for us, and then work with the town administrator for town employees. That'd be great. And all other appointed boards too, because, you know, again, it's something important for everybody to know about conflicts of interest and the like.
We could probably do something like we did last time.
Yeah.
And invite the different board members. Okay, so Joan, will you look into that for us, please, and get back to us?
Yeah, I'll work with the town administrator.
Okay, thank you. Tax assessor Roberts.
He's here, hang on.
Update regarding townwide reevaluation. I know he's here.
He's coming over. Here he is.
Okay.
Good evening, all.
Good evening, Dave.
Hi. All right. Just a quick update on the revaluation. Just to refresh your memory, this is a full revaluation. So they go from door to door and do interiors, typically under a full revaluation. But because of COVID, that threw a wrench into the process of going through interiors this year. So all residents, they did receive a data mailer asking them to confirm the information, and if there was any questions, they could contact the vendor, which I also want to remind everyone, the vendor this year to do this revaluation is Northeast Appraisal. Many of you know that we've been using Vision Government Solutions for many years, but we switched over to Northeast Revaluation, and they have finished all of their data collection in the field. There is some minor review work being done at this time, including myself. I'm going out and I'm driving by some of the properties. But residents, they will be receiving their proposed assessments the week of April 12th. So that will be mailed out to all residents, all property owners. And at that point in time, if they do have any concerns or questions about their assessments, the letter will direct them to go to Northeast Revaluation's website, and they can schedule a phone conference with them, or they can just call them directly. And again, the letter that is mailed out will give them all that information as far as what the proposed assessment is, how to contact them, and the Northeast Revaluation will be conducting what we call informal hearings for approximately 2-3 weeks, depending on the volume of calls they get. The people that do request a phone hearing, they more than likely won't get an answer right away on the phone. The vendor will do some research, but everyone that does have a phone hearing will receive a written decision from the revaluation company. I'm hoping and expecting within 2 weeks.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions for Dave?
Dave?
All right.
Dave, will that website be similar to Visions where they can actually, you can look at like your neighbor's properties?
Yes,
To see
exactly.
if your property is valued similar, like land-wise, and so it'll be very
Exactly.
similar then? Okay.
Very similar. Once the residents do get their letter, that's the week that the information will be posted online through New England Revaluation, Northeast, and every property can be searched.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Administrator Carter, update on governor's proposed budget and revenue projections for FY22.
So the Governor McKee did put out his budget this past couple weeks ago, I think it was now. And our general aid is not too far off from where we were in FY 2021. In FY 2021, we received $1,200,542. They're projecting $1,154,000, which is $46,000 less than this current year. And on the school aid, there's a pretty good drop. It went from 7,380,000 down to 6,774,000 for a $605,000 drop. So it's important that we did get these numbers, before we started going much further. And we're obviously watching, what the legislative body is going to do with these numbers, if there's going to be any adjustments to them. But I think as it stands right now, there is not a whole lot of discussion about changing them. So just wanted to bring you up to speed on where we were with those items. I will work with the treasurer to make sure that we get all those numbers along with our projected, non-tax revenues or non-aided revenues put together for the budget committee so that they can finish up their work as well.
Okay, thank you. Discussion and possible vote to authorize town administrator to award bid for the 3 police vehicles with an amount not to exceed $145,933.03.
So this is the very same firm that we used last year or the last time that we did a purchase. It's they're a state authorized master price agreement vendor. They're actually probably the only people we can actually get these vehicles through anyhow, without paying daily for them. So I'll let the chief speak to the bid itself as the process he went through, and the actual pricing. Chief?
Good evening again. So the administrator is correct. This is the same firm that we purchased the past 3 Ford Explorer SUVs under the USDA grant. And as you can tell, I know that you authorized me under the budget to expend up to $165,000. We were able to save nearly $20,000 with the purchase of these 3 vehicles, which are fully outfitted from everything from a bar light to a siren. And we are still getting the $60,000 from the USDA. So looking at a give back to the town of approximately $80,000 for the purchase of these 3 vehicles. And as also the administrator said, the Fords are kind of a sole source vendor. It's the same process that we utilized the last time. These are all master price agreement estimates. So I would request that you approve the purchase. And I would be lying to you if I said that they are not parked in a parking lot as we speak. So they are absolutely ready to go with a delivery date of May upon your approval.
All right, I know this is really silly, but when I look at the grand total, it's 5 cents, not 3 cents. Is that, just so we got the number right?
It is 5 cents.
Right, on our agenda, it says 3 cents. Am I wrong?
I missed that in the review.
All right. No, it's okay. It's just when we make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, but make sure you put the 2 more cents in, Joe.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we award the bid for 3 police cruisers for the amount not to exceed $145,933.05.
Thanks for adding your 2 cents, Joe.
I'm good at that.
Nice one, Mike.
So, yeah.
I'll second that.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a second from Councilor Edwards. All those in favor, Councilor Cook,
Yes.
Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Go get him, Chief.
Thank you. Drive them home.
Hurry up before we lose him.
Next item, discussion and possible vote on resolution to establish the dog park advisory committee. We have the resolution. I just want you to all be made aware, we'll approve the resolution at this meeting, and at the next meeting, we will appoint the members that are already there. We have a list of who they are, and the appointments will be at the next meeting. Does anyone have any questions regarding the resolution? Attorney Marcello, would you like to say anything about it, or?
I have a question.
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
I think represents what the council decided at the last meeting.
Joe?
Madam President, the only question I have is there a limited number of people on the committee? Because some committees have 7, some have 11, some have 5. Is there going to be a limited number on that committee?
Well, right now, it's already a membership. It's like 15, am I right?
I know there's quite a few. I don't know how many, there's quite a few.
Right, so that's why, I think that's why it's not written in here, because the committee's already formed. So we
Yeah.
just didn't want to forget anyone or not appoint everyone.
Right. The only problem I have is that by having 17 people, then you must have like 9 that show up in order to have a meeting. That's the only, sometimes you have a hard time getting 9 people to have a meeting. And that's the only thing I worry about.
Well, it's just when I talked to Kim and David, they gave us a number. So
Yep.
I'm not quite sure. Well, Kim is with us now, but Mike?
So the resolution actually limits the actual membership to 5,
5, yeah.
but allows them to have subcommittees and have, other people involved. It just limits the actual membership to 5.
Yeah, that was the question. That was why I wanted to know, because I know there were some regulations and I want to make sure we follow those so we don't end up with a problem later on. Sorry, Kim.
That's okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we cover our base. I don't want to end up with a problem later on. We've done all this work
Yeah.
and I don't want to end up with an issue later on.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that number?
I'm sorry?
Do you agree with that number, 5 members?
It makes no difference to me. I know that we have 17 right now that are with us, and everybody's been pulling their weight in it. And we have an average of about 13 people who come to our meetings when we have them every month. So I'm not really concerned about having a quorum. But if that's the policy in town, then yes, of course, we want to follow the policy. And so we'll just figure out how to make it work.
Well, no, it's what the resolution states. We can tonight change that. That's what I was saying. Like, we can change that.
I mean, we do have some committees that have 9. And that's why I want, I was going to see if, right. So that's why I was looking to see if we could do something with that rather than limit it to 5, because there are a lot of good people on that committee that have been doing a great amount of work.
There are. We've been working together well for about a year now, and really.
I hate to lose any of them.
Yeah.
Would it concern you? Would it be all right if I don't know if everyone agrees, but if we put 17 members so that no one feels left out?
I'm fine with that. If you just want to do that for like the first year, and then once the park gets up and going, I'm sure that all 17 people aren't going to be remaining. That maybe that was the time then to maybe have less people.
I'll make that in a form of a motion, Madam President. If that's, if the solicitor says that's possible, we can do that.
I'm sure it is. We can change that number.
You can change it if you want to. When this was drafted, we picked a number of 5, but if you read on that, the 5 have the ability to have subcommittees and whatnot, because we knew that there was a big committee, a big support. We just thought we kept the number, relatively low, so you could have a quorum, pretty easily and whatnot. But if you make it 17, then the quorum will be 9 members. So
9, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Again, but it did, as it's written, it doesn't. I don't, again, I don't know if people care about actually being an appointed member. But again, as is written, you guys can. When I say you guys, the 5 committee can appoint many ad hoc people. I know that you said you have a group that does fundraising, another group that does outreach, those kind of things, and that could continue. It's just a matter of a quorum. That's all.
Right.
And now that you become officially a town board, you have to comply with the open meetings law and keep minutes and all that.
Correct.
So Kim, what do you think? Is 17 too many?
I don't think so for what we've been doing. If you limit it to just, is it usually a 1-year appointment for a committee like that?
It's 3 according to
It's
this.
3.
reference. Yeah,
Okay.
but we could make it a 1 year and then readdress it later, a year from now, and see at that point, when it's up and running, we can get the advice of your committee, and you may want to change it to only 5 members that are just going to be maintaining,
Right.
things that need to be done at that point.
Right. It might be best maybe then if I take this back to the rest of the committee and ask them how they want to proceed. Is that okay?
That's,
It would just delay things a little bit for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd be willing to make a motion that we do it for 1 year and revisit it after 1 year.
Okay.
so 17 members for 1 year.
Yep, and then revisit it. Because I'm sure once the park gets up and going, some people are gonna, say, okay, we did enough and, you don't need us anymore, so we'll just go to the park and bring our dogs. And so, maybe we'll be down to 9 members or 5, so I'd be willing to make that motion for 1 year, revisit it.
Would anyone like to second that motion to change the membership to 17 for 1 year term?
I'll make that motion.
Well, Joe made the motion. Would you?
Oh, I'll second it then.
Thank you.
Can I ask Kim one question quick?
Yeah.
Kim, what are your plans? When do you envision this thing being completed?
We were hopeful by the end of this summer, but I'm not sure if.
Okay, so the 1 year does make sense then.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions?
Jay, you scared me there. Were you questioning my sense?
Your 2 cents.
Any other questions? All right, I'd like, so there's a motion to accept, this is how I'm gonna say it, Joe, and tell me if I'm wrong. Accept the resolution with the changes of 17 members for a 1 year term.
Correct.
And a second from Council Edwards.
Oh, excuse me, 17 members with a 1 year term.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Right,
isn't it?
1 year, right.
So the first motion would be a motion to amend the resolution as with those changes.
Okay, so that's the first motion.
Do we want to define the date for the 1 year?
Well, it would end this date.
It would end 1 year from today. It would end 1 year from today.
From today?
Hopefully-
Okay.
1 year from the
Which hopefully-
because we haven't appointed
Yeah.
anybody.
So 3/30/21
Well,
or
no, it would be
22.
1 year
Well,
from
from-
the appointment.
Right.
The appointments, yes.
Appointments would be next week.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna vote on the amendment. 17
Okay.
members and a 1 year term.
Yep.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Now we're gonna vote on the whole motion, right, Attorney Must? Okay, on the whole resolution. Do I have a motion for that? To approve the resolution as amended?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Councilor Edwards and a second by Councilor Perry. Any further discussion?
Hey Denise, how would you like to do the roll call for those meetings?
I know. I know. Councilor Cook,
Yes.
Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Thank you, Kim, and next week, and 2 weeks from now, we'll be appointing your members.
Thank
And
you.
I
Looking
do-
forward to it.
I do believe you sent us a list. We got it in,
Yes.
Joan did, someone sent it.
Yep, I did.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good job, Kim.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you this week.
Okay.
All right, I totally lost my agenda.
We are on,
Yeah, I know.
Alright.
oh,
Yeah, it's just that the amended agenda, so if I'm forgetting something, tell me, please.
Alcoholic beverages.
licenses.
There you go, alcohol, there you go.
Discussion and possible vote on advertising an amendment to Code of Ordinance, Chapter 6, Alcoholic Beverages, Section 6(9), number of licenses regarding a potential increase in BV licenses for public hearing on April 26, 2021. Currently, we have a limit of 20 licenses, I believe. All right. Who would like to talk on this, or you want me to?
Madam President,
Yes.
I just want to make one change. The public hearing would be scheduled for May 10th. Because of the change in the meeting date, it moves it out to May 10th instead of April 26th.
Do we have the amendment?
Yes, it's in the packet.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
I only see the current.
Just the current.
Mm.
So it's only the BV license that's going to change?
The Class A is regulated by the state,
Okay.
by the population count. So it's only the BV licenses, and currently we have a maximum of 20. And we do have a request or two that would put it over the 20. So we are requesting council's opinion on what you would like that to change to, or if you want it changed to increase it.
I was thinking 25. And Patrick is here.
Are we in discussion?
And I
The
did have a
motion?
discussion with Patrick about what he thought about this. Patrick, would you like to give us an opinion?
Good evening again. I did speak with the council president about the increase of liquor licenses in town. And I know Chief Blakey, this was something that had happened in the past. Currently, I have no objection, knowing that as the town expands, as we get new liquor licenses, knowing that as long as the business owners who are applying go in front of you and apply to all current state and local regulations, and there are servers which are required to conduct tips training, I do not have any objection to increasing the number from 20 to 25.
And I did talk to Patrick. If I'm saying this wrong, tell me. I did talk to him about increasing it. He wasn't concerned with that number because we're not giving it to nightclubs and bars in town. Like, we do have a few, but it's restaurants that are asking for it and lunch places that are asking for it. So it's not like we're saying we want 5 more nightclubs in town, and that's not the case at all. So, and that's what Patrick had said to me, that he wasn't concerned because we're not having problems with a lot of clubs open late at night and problems with liquor being served. Is that correct, Patrick?
That's correct. I mean, these are small venues that usually serve coffee or lunch. The largest venue that you have in town that serves alcohol, obviously, is the casino, and you have a police officer stationed there 24/7. So any other venue, we do not have any issues with, and we have good relationships with all of your business owners who have alcohol licenses. As a matter of fact, we conduct, for lack of a better word, we conduct compliance checks where we send a person who is under the age of 21 inside of these businesses on a routine basis. That's been delayed because of COVID, but I can tell you that this is something that's funded by the state, so we can ensure that your business owners are compliant, and we have never in my history had a problem with any business owner who currently has an alcohol BV license that's been in violation.
Thank you. Any questions for the chief or Donna?
I think Jay had his hand up first.
Okay, Jay.
Jay?
Well, I'm gonna display my ignorance. What is a Class A license and what is a Class BV license?
So I can answer that if you want me to.
Okay.
A Class A license is a retail liquor store.
Okay.
And the number of those licenses is governed by the state, and it's based upon the population of the state. So based upon Tiverton's population, I think you're allowed either 2 or 3. I mean, the clerk.
Okay, I got that.
BV, a B license is a BV A BV license is a liquor license which allows the people to serve full liquor, but they get to serve it with food. So it goes with a restaurant. Where just a Class B license would be
A liquor store.
A bar. A BL license would be a license that you can only serve. Excuse me, a BVL license is a license where you can only serve beer and wine with food. So it's all governed by state law.
So BV, you can serve any kind of alcohol, but it has to be with a meal.
Yes, with
Okay.
food.
Thank
Food has to be on the establishment. And so there are no limits on the number of B licenses that a town can issue. It's not based upon population. It's just based upon what the town believes is what they can support. The reason why this came up is, and clerk can correct me if I'm wrong, there was a person who applied, or a number of people who applied, and we were told that there was the number of licenses that B licenses in the town was limited to 20. I couldn't find it in the ordinance book because it wasn't there. But the town clerk did do a little bit more research and found that an ordinance had been passed in the past, but it had never been codified. So that just gave us an opportunity now to correct the error and consider the increase. Because the fact that we accepted more licenses than we actually had licenses for.
So do we have to have an ordinance?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Any question, any other questions?
Donna.
Yep, I see. Go ahead, Donna.
Is there any reason to limit the BV licenses at all, since there's no problem? I know you want to increase it to 25, but I kept thinking about, restaurants, and it looks like there's going to be a new one right at the top of my street. It used to be Buddies. I don't know whether they're going to call themselves Buddies or not, but they put a lot of work into it. My concern is that I don't see any reason to limit unless is there a law to limit the restaurants serving liquor with food? Is there, or is it just what we want?
It's up to the town to decide. You could have an unlimited amount of BV licenses, but I think at some point, if you have, again, it's just a policy decision. It's just there's nothing prevents you from always increasing this number if there's a demand for it. But if you want to have unlimited, that's up to the town. But I would suppose you lose control when you have an unlimited amount like that.
Yeah,
well,
it's a way for us to keep track of it. Go ahead, Donna.
All right, the police chief just said he can keep track of it, but I don't know. We want new businesses coming into town, whether it's a restaurant. It brings a lot of people into town, maybe from out of town, and we be business friendly. My thing is that if you limit it to 25 and then someone comes in and wants to open a restaurant and they're number 26, now what? I guess they can't get a license. I just think that puts them at a disadvantage. And then you kind of get into a problem where, are people going to be paying for licenses, like paying for them so they can get that license because it's causing a problem, there's a shortage. I just think we should be more business friendly. I don't see any reason to limit it. If a problem comes up, we can take care of it then, but I don't see any. There's been no problem, I don't think. Has there been a problem? The chief just said there wasn't a problem. I personally, I want to be business friendly. I don't want someone to not be open a restaurant and then have to open in the next town when we could have been getting the business, the taxes, the food and liquor taxes. I'm really for leaving that open right
Donna,
now.
I don't think
That's just me.
I think one of the reasons why this has come up is because we're exceeding the 20, and that's why we want to increase it. So we never say no. We're approached to exceed. If Joan says we have 2 more, you're up to 25, maybe you should increase it again. Well, then we can. We've never said no to a restaurant. we've added the liquor license, but ever since I've been here, there's been 20 and there's been no problem. Like no one has been rejected.
Oh, so if we say 25 and someone wants to come into the town, would they look to make it 26 and then they can
Yeah,
open
well,
their
maybe
restaurant?
at that point we'd go to 30 because we're growing and we need that again. Mike, I see your hand.
Can't we
I'm
leave
gonna-
Can we leave it unlimited for now? I mean, I don't see any reason to, I really don't see a reason to put a number on it right now.
I'm gonna let
Personally.
Mike talk for a minute and then I'm gonna, well, Councilor Burke.
So, Mike, I want to make sure I heard you. The B licenses are a broad category, and this would what we're doing here cover any B license or just the BV license first off?
BV only. They're only amending the BV license.
Okay, so things like the BH, the BM, which are for brew pub licenses, things like that. If we wanted to allow those, we would have to have an amendment to this for that?
Correct.
Okay. So, and the beer and wine is a separate license as well?
BL is beer and wine.
Okay. And what about?
B means beverage, L means limited. So.
Okay, thank you. And what about a BYO?
We do not have, BYO is a separate license altogether, and I'm not sure we have the authority.
Open your own bottle.
I don't know if we have the, I have, some towns have adopted an ordinance for BYO. I don't know if Tiverton has.
I think we have. I think
we have, yeah.
Yes.
So, and Chief Jones, just a question. If we either went unlimited, what would be your number above 25? Because I agree somewhat with Donna that I'm concerned that we have 2 or 3 outstanding requests. We move to 25 and shortly maybe we have to look at this again. And yes, while we can look at it again, it does have a little bit of dampening effect for folks who are looking ahead at citing a restaurant where they want to serve beer and wine and saying, well, we're going to have to go through a few more hoops with Tiverton. So instead, let's go to Portsmouth. But I'd like to hear, Chief, from a limitation perspective, how open are you to expanding beyond 25 and or being unlimited with it?
Matt, before the chief answers, could I just interject something here for a second? Hope you're on mute, Denise. So.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
So I just want to make sure that, so this debate that we're having right now is a great debate as to what the number should be increased to. The only thing that's really on the agenda is if whether you're going to discuss to put it on a future agenda to increase that number. So this debate was probably a better debate when you actually have the ordinance on the agenda as to what it should be increased to. The only issue before you now is whether you want to advertise the current ordinance to be amended at a future.
Oh, I thought we were trying to decide what that number should be when we put it out for advertisement.
Right, when we put it out for advertisement.
You could leave it this current number, or it's up to you. I mean, I guess that's the way you could handle it. I would just leave the current number and you can decide at a later date. But
That was my understanding that we needed a number for the advertisement, but that's not true.
Well, I guess you should probably put, yes, that is true. You should probably put a proposed number, yes.
So, all right, so I'll make a motion. We put a proposed number.
Joe, I have a question for the chief.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on that.
Patrick has his hand raised also, and Mike has a question. So, Patrick, where are you? Okay.
So I am more comfortable, and I know that this has happened in the past with my predecessor as police chief, and I know Mr. Marcello can comment on this as well. When you have a business who opens in town who has partners, it is a state law that the alcohol license that is issued both by the state and the town, that the individual getting the license must have a clean criminal record. Fortunately, we have not experienced this in town, that we have multiple partners who Patrick Jones will put, because he has a clean record, he will get the alcohol license, but no disrespect, Mr. Marcello. Mr. Marcello, who has a shady past, will be the business owner. So I am more, and of course, all of us, including myself, are very business friendly. I would much rather, if you're asking my opinion, have any business come before you and ask. I am
Right.
not objectionable to increasing it to 30, 35, 40, however far it needs to go. But I like the process, because I'm a process person, that any restaurant owner knows they have to come before you and go through the process, no different than filling out the application, and then you give them the permission, than just having it an open door.
I mean, we could theoretically put it to 30. That's 9 more than we have now. And I don't know if there's 9 more businesses that are gonna be open, but I mean, we could put it to 30 and then just have that number there. And if we get 30, which I think it'll take us a while to get to there, then we can go up from then.
And Madam President, the only reason why I did that is rather than go 25 and then have to come back later on for 2 more, if we just set it at 30, that way we got some leeway.
By the way, just so you know, you can always reduce the number as long as the license haven't been issued.
Yep.
So am I,
At the public meeting, Mike, if people come to us and they want it increased, we can always increase it at the public meeting. Is that true?
My point, yes, that's correct. But my point was just assume in the next meeting, when the public hearing is, you increase that number to 30. And for whatever reasons, for the next 5 years, those licenses have never been issued. They're available to be issued, but they're never, and you want to reduce the number back to the 25, you could always reduce it. You just, once someone gets a license, however, it's very difficult to take it away without like a just cause, basically, for you to take it away. So, but if the license is not issued, you could always reduce that number.
so Madam President, can I make my motion?
Deb's got her hand up.
Deb,
And it's a very quick question. What happens when a business closes, like Little Bear just closed? What happens to their license?
They could either, generally, they can either sell that license with approval of the town council, or they just turn it in. They can hold it, they generally have to, turn it in or sell it to a new vendor. But again, it's always with the approval of the town council. You cannot just sell a license to someone without the town council approval. That's why you've seen transfers on your agenda in the past.
I don't know if we've ever had anybody want to sell a license, to tell you the truth. When they close, the license comes back. That's my past. And my dog is barking. Sorry, everybody. All right,
Okay.
Joe, did you want to make a motion?
Okay, yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we
Okay, give me
advertise, permission to advertise for an amendment to the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 6, Alcoholic Beverages, Section 6-9, number of licenses to be 30. And
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made by Councilor Perry, seconded by. Motion's been made by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Edwards. Any further discussion? Councilor Cook,
Yes.
Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
yes,
and I'm a yes.
yeah, your dog was telling us that.
Yeah, I know. Mike, do I have to have a motion to go out and advertise?
That's
I thought I just was part of my motion, wasn't it?
Okay,
To adver-
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. My dog was commenting.
Yeah, he was talking, your dog was talking about the dog park.
Yeah, I
He's so
couldn't even-
excited about the dog park.
He's on the wrong item. It's in the agenda.
What did we say was the public hearing date?
May 10th, May 10th.
May 10th.
Okay, J, Councilor Burke. Discussion and possible vote to take position on state house bills.
I thought you were, go ahead, sorry.
No, Mike, why don't you do this so I can take him out?
Yep.
Stop talking. Go
So let me go back to my agenda. Hang on 1 second. I thought she was calling Jay, not
Me
item
too.
J. Item J, item 8J, Councilor Burke, discussion of possible vote to take position on State House Bills H 5258, which would authorize the Stonebridge Fire District to borrow up to $100,000 in funds to meet specific short-term financial obligations. Number 2, House Bill 5259, which would create a voluntary mechanism for municipalities to use to dedicate a park, conservation, or other land they own as public trust land in perpetuity to protect and preserve its future use. And item 3, House Bill 5485, which would allow school committees to add items to their agenda for the purposes of discussion only without having to publish notice of the additional items. So Representative Edwards had asked me to put these on our agenda for discussion. His hope is support. So he may or may not be, he may be in a hearing listening. So if we can let him in, if he wants to come in, that would be helpful. And then I'll try to talk through these. And I apologize, being a novice at this part. I had told Mike Marcello that we didn't need actual resolutions, but we probably will have to come back and do resolutions. But I think we can still be helpful to Representative Edwards by at least determining our position on these bills. So welcome, Representative Edwards.
Thank you, Councilor Burke.
If you want to speak first to the Stonebridge, the 5258.
Just really briefly on all three, these all relate to Tiverton. That's the reason why I've come before the town council to ask for your support. Obviously, the Stonebridge Fire District is an integral part of Tiverton. As you stated previously, the reason for this bill is to allow them to borrow up to $100,000 for short-term short-term payments. They discovered during COVID that they had issues meeting payroll, and they wanted to be able to come in and meet their obligations with short-term lending. Short-term borrowing. 5259 is a bill I put in on behalf of the state group that deals with land trusts, and the Tiverton Land Trust is very, very interested in this piece of legislation. Tiverton is a town that is recognized throughout the state for preserving its existing lands very well. And finally, 5485, allowing a school committee to add items to their agenda for discussion only. School committees, for some strange reason, are the only bodies, political bodies, that cannot add an item to their agenda for discussion only. Don't know why. The Attorney General's office doesn't know why. The open meetings groups have no idea. It just seems to be some archaic old rule that has been perpetrated upon school committees. So, at the request of this Tiverton School Committee, I put this piece of legislation in, relieving them of that onus.
So, opening up for any questions. I know Councilor Edwards had some feedback on the trust issue too. So, Councilor Edwards.
Well, first I'll ask Representative Edwards, when do you think you'll be voting on these and making a decision?
Soon. We have over 1,000 bills in play. These bills have been through committee. There is nothing, there's no objection to any of these bills. Therefore, these bills will come into play very, very soon. 5259 will probably come into play sooner, probably the first one. The bill that is enabling legislation, allowing cities and towns to hold land in public trust. 5258 is a very simple bill. It's for a fire district. I can't imagine that wouldn't come into play very quick. 5485 will probably come in a little bit. That'll probably be the last of the trio.
Well, the reason I ask is I was working with Gary Plunkett on open space, and we crafted a resolution, which we did it too late to get on this agenda, but maybe it will go on the next. But would resolutions on the part of the town become a moot point?
Would they become a moot point? No.
No?
No, I mean, I've actually been asked, like I received from the town of Tiverton on behalf of legislation that I put in for Tiverton, the day that came to the floor. And one of the only questions I received in the legislation was, is there a resolution from the town council in favor of this legislation? And I had just received it that day, and I was able to say, yes, we have received a resolution from the council on behalf of this legislation.
Okay, so there's H5259. I've got a resolution in the mill. I haven't done the other two, but I assume somebody will pick up that ball.
Yeah, so I don't think there's anything that precludes us from taking a vote tonight and assuming those votes are in the affirmative, and can't assume that. Then we would follow up on our next meeting with the actual resolution language. So at least Representative Edwards would have the ability to say to his colleagues, Tiverton Town Council does support these or does not, depending on what the outcome of the vote is. And if the outcome of the vote is that we support them, then we can do the resolution. So, Madam President, do you want me to turn it back over to you?
Yeah, I see a bunch of hands up, so I'm just going to go in order. Councilor Cook?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about H5258, which has to do with Stonebridge. I don't know why I would be interfering. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but Stonebridge Fire District is a separate entity, just like the North Tiverton Fire District. Why the town council, they have their own board. They have the right to tax people. Why they wouldn't just go to you themselves, have a meeting and the citizens decide? I don't understand why I would be approving.
They did. This bill came from them. It was requested of the Tiverton Fire District, Stonebridge Fire District. They are a quasi-public entity under the charter of the town, granted through the state of Rhode Island. Therefore, the town has the ability to come to the state and say, revoke their charter. So they are chartered through you.
So they need our authorization for this bill, right, Jay?
They don't need your authorization, but your authorization helps with the passage of the legislation for the fire district.
All right. I think that's what Donna is saying.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have to authorize this.
Oh, okay. I
mean, if the sewer district came with something, I would come to the town council looking for a resolution as well, because they're a quasi chartered under you.
It just means the other support their effort. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, okay, but I'm not understanding why they need to borrow $100,000. I guess that's, I mean,
it's up to 100,000. It's not $100,000. It's up to $100,000.
Up to $100,000. I don't know. I'd have to know what it's for. I don't get what it's for.
It's short-term borrowing. If they needed to meet payroll,
but I don't know what it's for.
Well, you're not going to know what it's for until they have to go out and borrow it. But during the COVID crisis, they found themselves short. Because they weren't getting their tax dollars in, and they don't. Unlike the town, they don't have a source to go to. So for short-term borrowing, they need to be able to. They need this legislation. Otherwise, they can't borrow.
Madam President, can I try to answer that question? So Donna, I think of it as, I've never been a business owner, but I think of it as a business, and even nonprofits. They will have lines of credit with a bank for situations like what Representative Edwards describes, where you're going to have income coming in. For a nonprofit, that you've been guaranteed a grant coming in, but for whatever reason, the flow of that grant money has slowed down. For someplace like the water district, they know they're going to have their revenue coming in at a certain date, but right now, either they borrow money to pay their staff, if that's the situation that they're in, or their staff goes unpaid, and then there's a whole different matter that we'll probably have to deal with, because people will think it's us that have that responsibility. This just simply is a stopgap. We borrow $50,000 to make payroll. this month, and then next month we pay that back. And it's a very, as it says, it's a very short time frame for them to do that, usually.
Okay, so the people that, the customers that have been informed and they're okay with this short-term borrowing?
Customer?
Well, the people that get
The members of the district.
Yeah.
The
They were
board,
okay with.
the board from the district requested this legislation.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, the other one was the municipal public trust dedication. I've got a couple of questions on that. This dog park designation that came up is going to affect all the cities and towns, as I understand it. I'm not sure all of the land that Tiverton owns. I know all where the buildings are, that maybe there's other land tracts that I'm not aware of. Going through this, I saw that there was no mechanism to undo what was done with this. You can't take, it's in perpetuity, you can't take the land back if something changes. There's no way to change that around.
We actually have an amendment coming up on that language. The town of Warren brought that forward. So because you can't bind future councils, we can't bind future legislatures. So because of that, we're amending the language, the enabling language, so that future councils, if something came up, could go back and undo this.
Okay. All right, we've got, one of the things would have been the library in Nonquit, we're now getting tax dollars from that. The old Ranger, we got tax dollars for that, went into be a business. I'm just concerned lands would be turned over to the land trust that possibly would help the taxpayer bring the levy down.
No, Representative Councilor Cook, this is dealing with like parks, like where the Minuteman is. I'm sorry, where the Doughboy is down in Stonebridge area. That small park there. People have granted that as a park in perpetuity. We're not talking about vast tracts of land unless you had something like Fort Barton.
Okay.
This is not something you're doing for like the land trust.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does say it goes to the land trust, no?
No, it's public trust.
Public trust, not the land trust.
As public trust land, that's something different, Donna. All right, we had, Joe had his hand up.
You're on mute, Joe.
Joe, you mute. Oh, you're I don't know what.
Yep, I was on mute, sorry. The only question I had was, can we vote on all three of these together, or do we take them individually?
We could probably do all three together as long as we agreed on all three.
Exactly.
Okay.
Unless a member wants to vote separately, has a separate opposition to one and not, whatever they can.
Councilor Janik, you had your hand up.
So I understand everything that Mike said, Mike Burke, about the Stonebridge Fire District. So they came to you, state rep, to borrow up to $100,000? Like,
No,
why would they?
They came to me to allow them enabling legislation so that they could in the future, if they had to, borrow short-term up to $100,000.
Do they need to have legislation to do that?
Yes, they do.
They couldn't vote on that on their own.
No, they're a public entity, and because they're regulated through the state, they have to request of the state to be able to borrow.
Okay, I see. So they were not eligible for any CARES monies then?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. All right, so they asked for that. And then the school committee, they asked for this to be changed so they could add items to their agenda.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Just add for discussion only, not add an item to be voted on.
Okay.
Which we
Thank you.
do
Thank you.
ourselves.
Right.
Your budget committee can do it. A whole bunch of committees in the state can do it. The only one that can't, for some unknown reason, is school committees.
Because somebody was mad at them at one time and didn't put their name in there.
Probably.
I can educate my former whip. I think the reason is because school committees used to have to advertise their agendas in the newspaper, and therefore, if they were able to add something to the agenda, it would circumvent the advertising requirement. Mr. Edwards.
Probably. The current attorney general didn't have any idea why.
Well, I think you can give him that reason because I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I will be more than glad to enlighten Peter.
Councilor Edwards?
Representative Edwards, just on 5259, you said it covers parks, but doesn't it also cover, let's say I donate 50 acres of land to become a park in Tiverton. Doesn't it also cover that, protect it?
Only if you give it to the town and the town decides to keep it like that. The town council would have to make the motion and put through the legislation to make that happen. The private citizen might put that as a stipulation for getting the land, but only the council could accept it as such.
Okay, so if I put a stipulation on it and then the town council accepted that and accepted the land under those terms, then this legislation would be in effect for that parcel, which is why I like it, because it precludes a future town council being enamored by a developer with deep pockets coming in and offer you the world, and you violate the original concept. Am I wrong on that?
If the town needed to put a fire station on that property or do something along those lines, the amendment we are drafting right now would allow the town to do that. Town wouldn't be able to sell the land or wouldn't be able to develop it like that, but they would be able to use it. Let's say the only place you had left in town to put a big high school or something was this parcel. The town would be able to amend it and put the high school on that property, would remain in the town's trust.
So it's almost like eminent domain.
No, eminent domain is taking a personal property.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got it.
Donna, I think you had your hand up again.
Yeah, it was already answered.
Okay.
Because what Ed was asked, Jay was asking, Representative Edwards said that was going to be an amendment. So, and the one council isn't bound to that. They can change it. So, all right.
Mike.
And just to be clear to Representative Edwards, this only enables us to look at specific parcels and then determine if we wanted to on those. It doesn't say that everything that is now an open space or anything like that the town owns becomes in the public trust.
That's correct. This is enabling legislation for the cities and towns. It was requested by, I believe, Narragansett or Smithfield, or maybe both.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So I'd like to, if not, can I make a motion?
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that the Tiverton Town Council supports House Bill 5258, which is entitled an act to incorporate the Stonebridge Fire District into which allows the Stonebridge Fire District to borrow up to $100,000 on a short-term basis to meet their needs, meet their short-term financial needs. And that we support House Bill 5259, which creates a voluntary mechanism for municipalities to use to dedicate a park, conservation, or other land they own as public trust in perpetuity to protect and preserve its future use with the understanding that this will be amended to give some flexibility for cities and towns in that regard. And then H 5485, and it would allow school committees to add items to their agendas for the purpose of discussion only without having to publish note of the additional items.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you very much. And when the amendment comes up, I'll forward a copy to the council.
Right, and we'll be
Thank you.
writing our support and approving it at our next meeting.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Jay.
Administrator Carter requests permission to advertise and hire a land use clerk. Chris, you're on mute.
I apologize. So we'd be requesting to put the following ad out. I know that was just sent out to everybody, so you may not have it. The town of Tiverton is currently seeking a qualified person to work in a full-time capacity as the land use clerk in the building planning office. The qualified person must have a minimum of a high school diploma or GED. The individual should possess a wide range of computer skills, including knowledge of Microsoft Excel and Word, and familiarity with office equipment. This person requires a high level of accuracy, attention to detail, excellent interpersonal skills, and analytical and problem-solving skills. This position is scheduled for 35 hours a week. The application and job description are also available on the town website. And submit all applications and resumes to the Tiverton Personnel Board, P.O. Box 38, Tiverton, Rhode Island. My only question is for Joan as to when this ad would go out, as to how long it would we do it for. I know you have deadlines for who we would advertise with.
Well, it wouldn't go out until next Monday to
Okay.
get into next Thursday's paper. So there's nothing this week. It would go in next week's paper, and then we'll work with you on what date you need to have the returns by.
Okay, all right.
Counselor Burke?
Madam Clerk, do we use I'm not going to get the right name of it, but the Newport Chamber of Commerce has a jobs bulletin board? Do we make use of that?
No, I actually haven't even heard of it.
Yeah, I was in discussion with Erin Donovan Boyle, who's the exec director, the other day, and she had mentioned that it's a place that we can and probably should make use of. So I can send you her contact information or find out who the best person there is to connect that to.
That'd be great.
Any other questions? Like to entertain a motion to give permission to advertise and hire a land use clerk. Donna?
So moved.
Well, Donna, yes,
Yeah,
Donna.
so moved. Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Okay.
So moved.
Do I have a set? Well, I'm gonna give you
Second.
a second, okay? The
Second.
motion's been made in second. All those in favor, Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Next item, resignation of William L. Moore as building official. Normally, we would accept this resignation. Mike said we really don't have to do that. Correct, Attorney Marcello?
Correct, it's just notification.
Okay. All right, so the next item goes with that item, authorization to advertise for building official position. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made in second. So Chris, it would be the same thing. I would imagine it's going to be advertised on next Thursday too, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'll see if there's a clerks association, building officials association.
I think there's something like that because last time I think we did it through them. It's some kind of magazine or something.
When we're saying next Thursday, we mean the 8th, right?
Correct.
Right, not this, yeah, because.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Council Cook? Did I get a motion?
Yes.
Yes, I did. Council Cook?
No. Did someone do so moved? Was it second?
Was there a second?
Yes, I second.
Okay. Council Cook?
So anyway, yes to that motion and second.
Okay.
Yes to it.
Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Councilor Vieira?
Yes.
Councilor Burke?
Yes.
Councilor Janik?
Yes.
Councilor Perry?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Announcements, comments, and discussion. Administrator Carter, update on American Recovery Act.
So I had a meeting with Representative Cicilline shortly after the 1.9 trillion or whatever it is that passed. And he's actually been meeting with every city in town, and he kind of informed us of 2 tranches of money that are going to be coming in. Now, he did know of the educational aid, and this particular package was $1,788,000 will be coming in. It'll be split into 2 segments. And on the town side, this is part A that he knew of. We'd be receiving $1,533,000, again, split into 2 pieces. And there's a third piece, which we are all aware of right now, that's coming in for Newport County, of which Tiverton would get its representative share based on CBDG population formula. Again, there is no guidance at all sitting right now as to how these monies are going to be used. There are 3 capital projects that it could be used for: the sewer, water, and broadband that are written right into the bill. We did have a short discussion about Tiverton's losses that were reported to the State Office of Municipal Finance. And we believe that those funds, whatever we reported as losses, we would be able to utilize without much justification back to the feds. We will have to justify every dollar we spend, but because we had pushed off so many expenditures during that time frame, both FY 2020 and 2021, that we may be in better position than some other cities and towns would be. So I'm just giving you a prelude as to what's coming. They are still working pretty hard and fast on trying to get these guidances prepared for all the cities and towns to utilize when they do get these funds. It's my understanding these monies will be coming as a grant, so that they're not appropriate. You can't use it to offset taxes at all. So it's not something that would go towards our FTR process. So I just wanted to give you an update as to, we are trying to, again, work with all of our representatives, our federal delegation on this. I am actually going to be meeting with Jack Reed this week, Senator Reed, on some of the issues that he wants to bring forward about these funds and some of the restrictions that he thinks that we may be encountering as well. So I'll keep you apprised as the information keeps coming.
Thank you. Any questions for Chris? Councilor Edwards?
Let me make sure I heard you right. You said there was going to be educational aid in the amount of basically $1.5 million?
$1,788,000 is coming out of the American Recovery Act. Just so you know, there is another pocket of monies that came out. There was a stimulus package that came out under President Trump when everybody got the $600.
Right.
The chunk of money that came into the state that we have yet to put our fingers on. There's education that were to deal with, the COVID issues. And my understanding is, as it came into the state, it's been held up at Rhode because there was no designation to deal with the charter schools. So they have yet to figure out the formula. So there's another pocket of money that's coming for Tiverton school budget as well. So, and again, all these monies are going to be restricted for certain purposes. it's not like they're going to be able to utilize it to offset their budgets and create a structural deficit. They're going to have to follow the guidance like everybody else is going to have to do as well. But it's good news for them. I mean, it's good news for us as well. So I just wanted to bring it up to your attention that it's 1.788 for education and 1.533 for the town's general municipal purposes.
So the 1.788 is going directly to the school.
So I'm not sure exactly how it goes. Again, we're trying to get guidance from both the federal government and from the state on how those monies are going to be carved into here. So my understanding is it should come in as a grant authorization into the treasurer's office, and that, you know, the schools are going to have to do their whatever justification they have to do to, take part of the use of those monies.
And if it goes to them as a grant, it should not have any impact on MOE.
That's the other part of the puzzle we're trying to resolve.
That's the scary part.
There's a lot of money at play here, and we are trying to make sure that, at least from the league's perspective, and from the governor's staff as well, that MOE is a huge concern in the out years. These monies are going to be available for the next 2 years, for FY 2021 and FY 2022. So we definitely want to make sure that there's no structural deficit created for the out years of utilizing these funds. And as the guidance comes through, I will definitely get the packets to you so you can start to brief and read them and understand and start, giving me questions to go back to whoever we need to go through. Okay.
Thank you.
Mike?
Thank you. Now I lost my train of thought as I was trying to, sorry, go ahead. I forgot what. No, I know. So yeah, I'm working on stuff on the state side for this that's unrelated to these pots of money. And, we're still waiting on a lot of the guidance, as Chris said. And there are very specific, even in the general guidance, there are very specific things that you can and cannot use it for. I could be wrong, but if it's considered a grant to districts, there's a good possibility they'll put it in their system that districts have to use for grant making, and report through there, but there could be other ways that they're going to do it. Oh, I know what it was. Chris, we have only through federal fiscal year 22? Or is it federal fiscal year 23?
That's my understanding was FY 2022.
Okay.
I haven't seen the formal documents yet.
Okay.
So on that note, that you're right, there may be some requirement that we provide some sort of granting from the town municipal to help with our business community. But the key component that I was concerned about is if we've had reportable losses, that we get to utilize those funds to deal with what we had as reportable losses prior to anything that the council would want to do for community-wide issues. So and we're trying to iron out those pieces right now with the federal government as well.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Chris. Clerk Shabbat, update on land evidence recording storage services.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update for our land evidence recording and storage services. We have a current contract with ACS. That contract is coming up soon, expiring very soon. We are in the process of getting estimates, and the next step would be to come before the council to request contract ratification once we've gone through the process of evaluating the estimates. So I just wanted to bring you up to date on that you can see that in the future.
Thank you. And it's not on the agenda, but Councillor Edwards, did you want to bring up something? You wanted to thank volunteers?
Oh, yeah. On Saturday, the Open Space Committee and Commission and the Rhode Island, I'm having a senior moment here.
Okay.
Anyway,
we all do.
We got a bunch of volunteers out at Bogland and planted about 5,000 beach grass plugs. had about 20 people out there. It was a beautiful day, and I just wanted to thank everybody who was involved for turning out and helping out.
Thank you, Jay. All right, so Attorney Marcello, you would like to suggest that we put something on the executive session tonight? That's
so,
not advertised.
Thank you. I would like, with the council's permission, to amend the executive session agenda pursuant to 42466B to add a new matter, which was recently brought to the town's attention, of the case of Peter McGreary versus George Alzabak, NC 2021-0019, for discussion purposes only in executive session.
Do I have a motion to enter into executive session under what Attorney Marcello just told us?
So moved.
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Donna,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. And the other one would be Town Administrator, Rhode Island General Law 4246585, discussion overview of the disposition of publicly held property in the Tiverton Industrial Park, continued from January 25th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Sorry, yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. And also, I'd like to invite Chief Jones to join as an executive under the first item.
So, Madam President, just so you know, the amendment of that new case would be under the litigation exception 42465A2.
Okay. You've got that, Joan? You're on mute.
I know this is going to sound a little crazy, but the first motion was just to add it to the agenda, which we did. And now I
Yeah.
think now we need to go into closed section under 42465A2 to discuss that added agenda in executive session.
Right,
So
do I have-
moved.
Okay. Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and Counselor DiMederos, yes. We are now in executive session.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're back in open session. I'd like to entertain a motion to seal the minutes.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. And Mike, would you like to?
Sure. In closed executive session, was the minutes were just sealed. And as regards to the item number 1 on litigation, which was closed, which was added to the agenda for discussion discussion only, the case of Peter McGreary versus George Alzabak. No votes were taken because the matter was added to the agenda for informational purposes only. As far as the second item on the agenda regarding the purchase and sale of public lands, pursuant to 42464B, a vote was taken with the disclosure of which at this time would jeopardize strategy or negotiation and therefore would not be disclosed at the current time.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Motion in a second. All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Thanks, everybody.